Steel Curtain Network.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, one of the three hosts of the Steelers Preview, a part of the Steel Curtain Network, which is a part of the Fans First Sports Network, and we are close to having Pickett to Pickens once again in less than a week. Training camp is here. Dave Schofield joining the show. What's up, Dave? How's it going?
Hey, it's going great, Jeff. Just knowing that next week when we get together, we'll be like, so at practice today,
they did a run test.
To do that. Yeah.
They did a run test.
They did. No, that's a Wednesday.
That's
Wednesday's the run test.
Right.
Well, in practice today, when they were wearing the helmets and shorts when it was 97 degrees and they were outside for 17 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Bryan Davis, what's up?
All I know is we are getting ready to experience and celebrate the anniversary of Casey Hampton failing a conditioning test.
I remember seeing video and he was unapologetic about it. He just didn't even care. Like Bill Cowher's like, oh, Casey Hampton failed the test again. And he was all pissed and Casey's like, I don't care. Like, how many times have I got to do this, coach? Like, put me through the ringer. I'm just going to go take up two blockers on the defensive front. I kind of miss that. I kind of miss having a big snap.
I love 98.
Like, did you really expect he was going to run someone down from behind or something like that?
No. But it's funny. I got kind of sad. I was listening to the call sheet. I'm going to plug Kevin Smith's show, which is on our Fans First Sports Network NFL feeds. If you go to anywhere you get your podcast, search FFSN NFL. Every Wednesday or Thursday, typically based on his schedule, is when the call sheet comes out. And we ran the most recent one on the Steel Curtain Network this week. And he talked about how defensively the old school nose tackles, the Vince Wilforks, the Casey Hamptons are being extinct. I was like, it kind of hurts me a little bit. Like I love those big guys up front. Vince Wilfork walking in wearing nothing but overalls, talking about Kingsford barbecue. Like that's a type of football that's not around anymore. But at least we're going to have football talking. We're going to be able to talk about something football related here soon. And that's really exciting. Before we go any further, Dave's gotten a chance to talk about Alex Highsmith. I've gotten a chance to talk about Alex Highsmith, but Bryan has not really. Bryan, I want to get your thoughts about Alex Highsmith's contract. Did you like it? Did you think it was he was overpaid? What were your general thoughts?
I don't think you could overpay a guy to lock down one of the most important positions actually across from one of the other most important positions on your team. I mean, it's the same position, but left side, right side, what have you. I mean, I think it was great. It's locked down. As long as those guys are healthy, they're just monsters for years. And something we're going to be talking about tonight, training camp battles. The only battle we're talking about at outside linebacker is who's backing those guys up. So I love the contract. It needed to get done. I'm glad because you worry about when you sign a guy like TJ 2 years ago, you worry about a guy like Alex Highsmith being Chad Brown. And you don't want to lose a guy you don't want the Chad Brown situation because, man, was he good.
Yeah, he was very, very much so. Now, Dave, I have a question that's a little bit more geared right down your alleyway with the allocation of funds, put it that way. There's been a ton of discussion on social media for some unknown reason about how much money the Steelers have spent on offense versus defense or vice versa. What's your take on that? Because clearly they're spending more money on the defensive side. I have my own opinion, but I want to get yours first. Go ahead, Dave.
That's where your guys with more experience are playing. And the NFL was completely set up for guys with the more years you play, the more you get paid. Not just from rookie deals. You obviously get paid more year after year after year. Then when you go from rookie deal into the next deal, that's when, if you are good enough to do so, that's when you see the significant bump in pay. And there are more players on the defense that are beyond their rookie contracts than are on offense.
Yeah, the offense is really young. I mean, so a quarterback, rookie contract, starting running back, rookie contract, starting tight end, rookie contract, number 2 wide receiver, rookie contract. People don't understand this. Like, yeah, so we want to make it even, right? Do you not want Minkah Fitzpatrick on the team? Do you not want TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith on the team? Yes, you do. And so you pay them that money because that's where it has to go at that time. I don't get that whole debate, and I don't know why it's raging. I think people are just so sick of the offseason. They're just ready to talk about something. And this is just like the soup du jour, so to speak. Bryan, what's your take on this offense versus defense financial allocation?
It's just in 3 years, it's going to be a different story. We're going to be talking about offensive guys getting the money. That's all there is to it. I mean, last year on August 4th, we saw Deontay Johnson get a new contract. So they looked at upping his deal. There was not talk about offense versus defense then. It's just like the circle of a team. And it's just, you have to go through, I don't want to say the motions, but you've got to go through the different time periods. And you look at who was drafted when, who was brought in when. Now, with, like you said, on their rookie deals, we're going to be talking, we're going to be talking ad nauseum about Najee Harris in another year and whether he's going to be sticking around. We're talking about him now with all of the Josh Jacobs and the Saquon Barkley news, and hearkening all the way back to Le'Veon Bell freaking out a few years ago and now apologizing now. I mean, now that's coming up and we're talking about that. That's looming. So those offensive guys need to get paid pretty soon, and we're going to see those deals be coming around.
What do you think about that whole running back thing? Just while you're on the topic, you brought it up. I find it very fascinating. And you have these core group of running backs. You're talking about Najee Harris. He's been Najee Harris has been very vocal. So is Derrick Henry. Christian McCaffrey has chimed in. Saquon Barkley saying maybe he should sit out the year. Dave, what do you think about the devaluing? And if that's even factual, you might disagree entirely with that whole term of the running back position.
That's a tough one, because when you look at production of running backs over their years in the league, you don't get production much beyond year 7 or 8. So it's really difficult when you can take a player, if you draft him in the first round, you give him the 5th-year option, although the Raiders chose not to go that route. That was interesting. Then you franchise tag for year 6. What do you really have left? So I understand their problem. And because you're not paying running backs across the league, that makes the franchise tag not worth as much as it is other players. I mean, my goodness, it's almost half of what it would be for a linebacker. So I get that, but at the same time, how much is there a drop between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren? To me, the Steelers example right there is you're talking about a number 1 draft pick one year and an undrafted free agent the next. Now, I'm not saying that Jaylen Warren is on the same level of Najee Harris, but especially in today's NFL where the Steelers are wanting to run the ball and everyone's saying they're, what was it, zigging while everyone else is zagging, that some places are just like, we don't have to have that running back. We just need a guy that we could hand it off to some of the time. And therefore, we're not going to invest in that position. I can't go against that philosophy, but yet these guys, this is what they do. But unfortunately, what they do really wears them down.
Bryan, any thoughts on the running back position?
What team is Zeke Elliott on right now?
He's not on a team.
That's all you need to know. Why is he not on a team? It's because he's too expensive. I mean, he didn't have the best season last year, but he's still relatively young. I don't believe Leonard Fournette's on a team right now, too. And
he had some workouts this week, yeah.
So, but I mean, we hear about these guys working out. Dalvin Cook's not on a team. I know that's going to change, but it's really funny right now. If those guys were wide receivers, they're signed the next day. So we're now in a situation where, the position is devalued. And I hate to say it, but when you become a running back in college football and high school football and go ahead and sign your letter of intent to play in the NCAA as a running back, you're making a deal with the devil. And you've got to realize that you've got to get all that it's worth right now in those 5 years. Because when Dave Schofield says that Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, there's not that far of a drop off. Look, with good quarterback and wide receiver play, you can make a good running back better. And you can get what you need out of them because you're focusing on defenses are focusing on other things. So I really think that the position is in that spot where when I was growing up watching football, I mean, the running back was king. every MVP was a running back. Wide receivers have never been MVP of the NFL, like once or twice. It's like Jerry Rice, I think, was the last one. So, and now, every year a quarterback is going to be the MVP. A wide receiver is not, and the running back, it would probably take one of the most amazing seasons for a running back to be MVP now, and it's not going to happen because offenses are spreading the ball around more. You have Cam Hayward making jokes about, hey, Matt Canada's not going to open up the offense, Kenny, and we know that's not true. And that they might run the ball more, but just like last year, we'll probably be complaining again about how the Steelers need to run the ball more.
Yeah. Good points. Good points.
Hey,
absolutely. Go, Dave.
I was going to do a little exercise before we moved on to running back, but I will point this out. Jaylen Warren, he was the number 53 salary on the roster last year because he had no years of experience, undrafted, didn't have the signing bonus. When you talked about salary cap hit, he's that guy. He's still towards the bottom, like almost at the bottom. We'll see what it is when it's actually down to 53. That's just kind of how it goes right now. But I real quick, I can't do it by average per year salary because I can't filter it that way. But based on this year's salary cap number, now this doesn't have the new stuff from Alex Highsmith. Listen to the breakdown as I go from the highest to the lowest, just to make you realize it might not be what you think. But I'm just going to tell you which side of the ball they're on. It goes defense, offense, defense, offense, special teams, and Chris Boswell. So they're like, oh, well, they're not paying. Do you realize that the third highest salary cap is Deontay? And the thing is, people don't like the players that are there. That's why they say that the Steelers aren't spending enough on offense, because the third highest salary cap hit is Deontay Johnson.
And Chooks.
4 is Chooks.
Yeah.
5 is James Daniels. Then it's Minka, who would have been higher, but they restructured him already. So that you got to realize that's part of the reason why he's down, or else he'd have been up there as the number 3 guy. And then it's Mason Cole. And then it's Mitch Trubisky. And then it's Chris Boswell. So when you look at those salary cap numbers, it's because it's a wide receiver, 3 offensive linemen, and the backup quarterback.
All right, let's look in your crystal ball here. I know this is difficult for Dave. I know Brian will do it fine. Is Najee Harris going to be the first running back since Verron Haynes to get a second contract? And I'm not talking about a franchise tag a la Le'Veon Bell. Is he that guy, Brian? Yes or no?
No.
Dave?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with yes as well. I'm going to go with yes.
I just think the Steelers, a lot can happen between now and then, but I would see that they would give him something before, I think they'll pick up the 5th-year option and they'll see if they can work out something for that year and 2 more beyond it. And then that's probably going to be it.
I hope I'm wrong. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. I love being wrong when it's something like this.
All right. Tom Muir, who now goes by Tom Plays Games, he gave us $10. He said, my heart be still. I agree with Brian. The next 2 seasons will be defense focused. KP's 4th year will start the swing to an offense focused cap. Let's ride that roller coaster. Here we go, Steelers. Thank you very much, Tom, for the tip. Let's hope that you donate a lot of money this season to the pot based on the fact that you donate $1 for every win. So let's hope you're donating a lot of money in 2023, but we do appreciate the $10.
Can't wait for that post-game show.
That is always a lot of fun for sure. All right, before we dive headfirst into training camp battles to watch, we are going to take a quick break. If you're listening on the audio side, you're going to hear a word, hopefully, from our sponsors. And if you're on the video side, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook, stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we are back and took the break a little early. That's okay. I didn't want to interrupt the training camp, and we're going to roll right into the trivia afterwards. Training camp is coming up, and we talked about the ramp up last week, and now it's here. Yeah, I mean, next Wednesday they report. They start their conditioning and practice on Thursday, open to the public. does anyone know, do you have to get tickets anymore?
Yes.
Or is it, you still do have to get tickets?
Free tickets, but you got to get it. They want to have an idea of what's coming there. You've got to go through security, but as Big Bro shared some in the past, they have the same security now. I'm pretty sure it's gate B that I go in, which at the stadium, you don't have to go through the little confined thing. You just kind of walk through an area, and it kind of picks you up as the detectors. So it's pretty interesting how they do that there.
There you go. So training camp is upon us. Let's talk about some camp battles. These are the battles that, there's going to be some, like Dave always says, low-hanging fruit, but still, this is what interests you. This is not in any way, shape, or form us saying what is the most important for the team. Now, they could coincide, but really, there are some times where you're like, I'm kind of really interested in how this position, this spot on the roster is going to shake out. Okay, does everyone understand the task?
Yes.
Bryan, you're going to lead us off. Go ahead.
All right. So one of the most intriguing things for me is just that cornerback position. Where do the rookies come in? So I'm looking first and foremost of who are your definitive starters, and we think we know that it's Patrick Peterson, and we think it's Levi Wallace. And right now, that's probably the best way to go. But who makes their way into that? So the battle would be the two rookies, Corey Trice Jr. and Joey Porter Jr. And yes, don't worry, Joey Porter Jr. will sign. He'll be there. This is not the 80s or 90s when you've got to worry about a guy holding out long term. That's not a big problem. But those guys, to see who fits in next and is the next man up, it's going to be really interesting. So I'm going to say it's not Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson battling. It's those two. It's the two rookies battling at corner to see who is the next guy.
All right. I had cornerback on my list too. That's fine. I've got more. Dave, what about you? Or do you, you can comment on Bryan's too?
Yes, just to comment on Bryan's a little bit first. Talked about that a little bit on Scobro when we were talking about the 5 most intriguing questions for training camp. And I brought up cornerback because I don't really think it's as much, are they going to get the job done? I think the Steelers have good pieces. I want to know how they're going to fit them together. Is Patrick Peterson going to be like Cam Sutton was last year and play on the outside, but when they go sub package, just slide inside and the next person in is coming in on the outside? Is Corey Trice Jr. someone that they're going to look at in the slot? You still got Chandon Sullivan's name thrown out there. I don't know that he even has a spot on the team. And for all you know, he could be the week 1 starter as the slot corner. We really don't know. And as Jeff said about James Pierre, he's got to fight to just get a spot on the team. It's not going to be handed to him because they went out and created the competition and the depth there. So I think I like what they have there. I just don't know what they have in mind with how they're going to work it out. And I just think that's a pretty interesting thing to talk about.
Well, to be honest, on my list, I had defensive back rotation.
Yeah.
I want to see, like, here's another name, Trey Norwood. Like
Elijah
Riley, someone I've talked a lot about due to our sourced information that they thought he had a great offseason. They're not necessarily cornerbacks. I agree with Bryan. But boy, is this going to be interesting to see what they try and do with some of these pieces of the puzzle. Dave, go ahead. What's next on your list?
All right. Well, this might be low hanging fruit, and it's funny because it's not like it's super important because it's a position that's generally on the field only about 30% of the time. But when they're out there for that 30%, it's really important that they're getting the job done. The Steelers have a lot of names that they could have out there at nose tackle, but you can't keep a lot of them. How is it going to work out at nose tackle? And which of those guys are also going to be able to play defensive tackle, a la Javon Hargrave? The Steelers fans should know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that you can get into that rotation. Tyson Alualu was the same before his injury really set him back. It's going to be interesting because I think Fehoko is a very intriguing name because just hearing Jim Wexell talk about him is enough to get excited about him. You've got the second round draft pick in Keanu Benton, is he going to be a guy that they say, oh, we're going to put him at nose? Or is something going to happen where they're like, you know what? We don't really want him playing in that position. I would love them to do it. I just don't know for sure. Then you've got Armand Watts. You've got, Montravius Adams was the guy that started there last year. That's a lot of guys for one position that's usually only on the field about 30% of the time, if that. So it's kind of intriguing how that's going to play out.
Bryan, anything to mention about the defensive front or nose tackle that Dave just brought up?
Well, you know what? On the defensive line, Isaiah Buttermilk, this is probably one of those boom or bust years. I don't even want to say boom. It's I think he's kind of hanging on around trying to stick with his team. I think it's going to be very tough with all of those other players there. Now, I know he moves around. Sometimes he's at the nose tackle position, sometimes just a defensive tackle if they have 4 up there. He could be on the end. I know he's versatile, but they brought a lot of guys in, like Dave said, Jeff, like you said. This is very intriguing. The one thing to say about the defensive front is it's strong.
Yeah, I want to see where someone like Isaiah Loudermilk fits. That's the thing for me. There's someone's going to get axed here, and I'm not sure who it is. Maybe it's an Armand Watts. It's a less known name. They didn't trade up in the draft to get him. But Montravius Adams, he could get cut too if Braden Fihoko turns out to be a better fit for what they want with what Keanu Benton can do. That rotation on the defensive front is going to be really interesting. Really want to see what they do with DeMarvin Leal. I know Dave's talked about him a lot. The guy did basically everything in the defense except for play safety and corner last year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Okay. This is going to sound crazy, but I think this can bleed into others. And so I've kind of had two positions that all stem to this one. So we're going to start with the one. I'm going to see who they're going to have as a returner. Who's going to be the kickoff returner? Who's going to be the punt returner? And why does that matter? I think that's going to have an impact on running back 3. I also think that could have an impact on the wide receiver room as well. So it all stems from special teams. So let's say Calvin Austin is not really what we all thought he was going to be or could be, but he can return kicks and punts. Guess what? He's got a roster spot. If Anthony McFarland proves that he is capable of returning punts and kicks, then maybe he has that spot at running back 3. I find this very intriguing. Not that it matters that much with the new kickoff rules, but still, I go back to the fact that Steelers haven't had a punt return for a touchdown since Deontay Johnson did it in 2019 against Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. So I don't know. I think, like I said, this position, this one singular position is bleeding its way into others. Bryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Could I give you a dark horse?
Sure.
From San Diego State, undrafted free agent, I believe the first UDFA that the Steelers brought in right after the draft, Jordan Byrd. Very interesting.
I've heard his name a lot. Yeah.
Very interesting guy. I mean, he's quick. He's fast. I think he's listed as a running back, but maybe he's running back wide receiver. I'm not sure completely, but Jordan Byrd's the kind of guy that we like our Tyler Vaughns. I remembered his name this week. He could be a guy like a Tyler Vaughns that we're like, well, where was he? Like Steven Sims. He could be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, remember my guy that I went completely crazy, Deontay Spencer, when they cut him. And
you were very upset about
a little
that.
bit.
And then the report came out that he was going to be signing with the Steelers practice squad until he got claimed off waivers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's an opportunity for an unknown to really make waves at return.
That's a good point. Dave, anything to add?
To answer Bryan's question, on Steelers.com, Jordan Byrd listed as WR/RS.
Return
receiver / return specialist.
But I don't want them to waste a roster spot on a return specialist. That's the only thing. I don't want them to do that. Please don't. That would drive me nuts. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm just saying because no one is talking about Gunnar O winning that job back. Yep. To me, if you want a dark horse, it's him. I don't want to, but the darkest horse is the guy that lost the job last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really his only route to the roster, in my opinion. I mean, do you really want to bring him around for five receptions?
No.
I mean, Come on.
Jet sweeps.
Yeah, that's true. But Calvin Austin III can do those, hopefully.
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson can do George. Give it to anybody.
No. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. All right. Hey, Bryan, you're up next. What do you got?
All right. So, wow. The one position that I'm looking at, of course, is, I mean, this is very low-hanging fruit, but what's going on at the tackles?
Yep, there it is. I thought someone would say that first.
Really, is it Chooks? Is it Dan Moore Jr.? A lot of people are predicting that Dan Moore Jr. is your starting left tackle and Chooks is your starting right tackle. Look, I get discouraged when we go ahead and label a guy as struggling just from like mini camp, and we're hearing all these struggles about Broderick Jones. The Steelers aren't saying anything about that, and it's really hard to report from there. So I don't know where you're getting that, but wait until you see him play in preseason games, and that's Broderick Jones, to go ahead and realize what kind of position he's in right now. Is he more of a project? Does he need to, I don't want to say red shirt, but does he need to simmer a little bit before he boils over?
Let me ask you a question, Bryan, before I throw it over to Dave. Let's say Broderick Jones wins the job, earns the job. He wins the job. This isn't Kendrick Green in 2021 where no one else could play center, so you're the guy. So he beats out Dan Moore. Do you think the Steelers are actually going to have it be an open competition at right tackle between Chooks and Dan Moore? Or do you just think Dan Moore is going to be the swing tackle?
Yeah. Let's go back to 2020 because it was between Chooks and my gosh, one of my favorite players,
Zach Banner.
Zach Banner, number 72. I mean, between Zach Banner and Chooks, and when Dave and I interviewed him, one of the things that he said was, "Hey, no one's losing this competition because we're both getting jobs." So. I think swing tackle is very important here, but I think it would probably be the guy who loses out at left tackle that ends up being swing tackle, because I think Chooks is safe, because I think it's more of a battle at left tackle right now, and you really can't say, all right, Chooks, now we're going to move you out. You played the entire preseason at right tackle and you were the number one guy, and now it's a competition. It's too late to have a competition. So no, I don't think there will be one.
Dave Schofield, chime in. You're the O-line guy.
This isn't a big one for me. I think it's Dan Moore and Chooks Corford. I've said that for a while. I think Broderick Jones is going to be a fantastic tackle for the Steelers, but it doesn't have to be in 2023. It's exactly like Jeff said. If he comes out there and grabs that job and earns it, great. And as soon as he's ready to go, great. But you don't have to force it. I keep bringing it up. Troy Polamalu, no starts in his rookie year. They traded up for him. That doesn't mean that they have to do that. I've said it so many times. Broderick Jones has all the attributes of a top 5 draft pick. He just didn't have the experience. So if he needs to gain that experience in practice every day, that's fine. And people are like, no, the best way is to get. The last thing you want to do is put someone out there before they're ready, where you could get that paralysis by analysis. I'm not saying that he won't, that's going to have to be the case. I'm just expecting, I'll hear about Broderick Jones later. And if he's ready sooner, then I'm just going to be really, really excited to see what he's going to do. But I'll tell you right now, Dan Moore Jr. is your swing tackle. He might start every game, but he is your swing tackle in regards of he's the one who's going to be learning both positions. They're going to keep Chooks at the right side because it seems to be that way. Broderick Jones, don't ask him to do more than one thing. Go in, learn left tackle. Do that. Don't worry about both of them. Even if it's Moore and Chooks, if Chooks goes down, guess what? Jones comes in at left, Moore goes over to right. Let's say it's Jones and Chooks, then Moore's your swing tackle. If it's Jones on the left and Moore on the right, and something happens with Jones, guess what? Moore bumps to the left, Chooks goes in at the right. So even you can be the swing tackle and still be the starter, just knowing that you'll be the one that moves if they have to make a change.
It's a good point. Good point. All right, Dave, you're up next regarding the positions to watch. Do you have another one?
Oh, I'll go with what everyone else wants to hear. Not that I'm super concerned about it. I'm hoping it's a great spirited competition of where we see lots of booms and no busts. Let's go punter.
Oh, I didn't even have that on my list.
No, I mean, people are going, Steelers fans that are really into the team, they're going to pay attention to that.
Oh,
they
yeah.
are. They're going to want to know. To me, the biggest thing that you can have is someone applying pressure. It comes right back down to the Kendrick Green thing 2 years ago. You don't want either one of those guys to win it by default because they sucked less than the other guy. Go out there and freaking kick the ball really far. Or even better, kick it really high so your coverage can get down there. Because I ran over some of the stats when it came to Presley Harvin. He had some of the lowest return rates of any punter, and the Steelers value that. They would much rather have a 40-yard punt with no return than a 55-yard punt with a 10-yard return. Although net, but the whole idea of that you could then bust one out in that manner. So it'll be something interesting to watch, and I just want to see him do well.
Unlike Kendrick Green, Big Press did earn it his rookie year. He just hasn't really performed well since then. Brian, any thoughts on the punter battle?
Well, I just looked up his name. Braden Mann is someone I've been following for years.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew his name. I just didn't say it.
I figured I'd have to look it up because I have nothing to add to this, just for the fact that I don't know anything about Braden Mann. I remember when the Steelers signed him. Excuse me. I looked things up on him, but I don't really. I really think that he's a guy you're bringing in just in case he shines so much, but I really think it's Big Press's job.
But this is it. What year was Big Press drafted?
2 years ago. So what?
2021.
2021. He was a 7th round draft pick. He was the why can't I remember? It's the guy, the best punter in college football.
Ray Guy
Award winner. Okay. He won it that year. The year before, it was Braden Mann who won that award, and he was drafted in the 6th round. They're basically back-to-back guys 1 year apart, and both of them have struggled in their career with inconsistencies, except Braden Mann last year was actually special teams player of the week for the AFC, I think in week 2. So
who's he with?
He was with the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to watch. I just wasn't thinking about it, but yeah, no, you're right. I mean, this is it's obviously what I said at the beginning of this segment is it's what's important to you, not necessarily what we think is best for the team.
Yeah,
it is important for the team. Anyways, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone, and I'm going to say I just want to see who rounds out the depth at wide receiver and tight end. So we'll say pass catcher. How many wide receivers are they going to keep? How many tight ends are they going to keep? Are they going to keep 4 tight ends if you count Connor Hayward as a tight end? Or is Connor Hayward going to be listed as a fullback? Or what about wide receiver? Does someone like Hakeem Butler make the team? What about the GOAT, Cody White, who's been getting rave reviews from the team this offseason, according to our sources? Those are the fringe players. Those are the players that might not even be active on game days, but could still have a spot on the 53-man roster that I'm very intrigued about. The tight end is definitely more intriguing than wide receiver to me. Does Zach Gentry make the team? Does he have a spot? I don't know. Brian, what are your thoughts?
My question first is what position really is Connor Hayward? Is he
positionless football?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
He's a football player. That's what well, hey, when he was drafted, you knew what coach they sent out. They sent out Alfredo. They sent out Fredo Roberts to talk. He's a tight ends coach. So that's, I guess, how they view it. If you want to look it up.
He's listed as TE/FB on Steelers.com.
Did it like before
he's an
well, can I say something real quick though? Steelers.com has made a crap ton of mistakes, so I don't want to take that as gospel. They ran an article about Anthony Miller. They ran an article about Anthony Miller after the dude was cut. Okay, so let's pump the brakes on Steelers.com.
3 weeks after he was cut,
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Like before he sent him out to see Connor Hayward, did Omar Khan kiss Alfredo Roberts on both cheeks and go, "Fredo, you broke my heart"? Sorry, I just had to.
Yeah, you had to.
Had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Zach Gentry is there as your blocking tight end, even though a lot of people don't think he is a fantastic blocking tight end. Jesse James wasn't always the blocking tight end that he was. I mean, gosh, he's the it guy right now, being Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington, I mean, everybody loves him from the beginning. I remember even telling you guys made fun of me. I was looking for football so much. It was between USFL games and I was watching Madden simulations, and and this guy, Darnell Washington, number 80, was just tearing things up. But is he more hype than we know he is? Is he really as great as we think he is? I really think he's going to be special, but how many guys can you have there? Do you have a fullback on the team? Not really. So, I mean, Gavin Anthony says he's an H-back.
Yeah.
Being Connor Hayward. And I remember, my gosh, the Tennessee Titans had one Frank Wycheck for an H-back for years. That was just wonderful. If they could find a way to make him a weapon, be Connor Hayward, then you might end up having 4 guys with tight end designations on this team.
It's a good point. Good point. Dave, any thoughts?
Yeah. Hold on just a second. I'm trying to bring this up and make sure that I've got it correctly. Well, that's why it says that he's on defense. I'm trying to figure out Derek Watt, like kind of the snaps where he lines up. You know, he lined up so much on the wing, you know, off the line next to the tight end or tackle, and that there, it wasn't that he was necessarily, you know, lined up in an I formation in the backfield. The Steelers just didn't do that all that many times. So the question is, do you need a roster spot for somebody else just to do that so little if you have someone else that could fill that role? So I was trying to get that exact number for you, and sorry, I don't have it right now. I tried, but it's still the whole idea behind it is true, is that if you can have someone fill a role while not having to dedicate an entire position to it, that's why so many times you'll hear people asking, do you really need a long snapper? I'm like, ask James Harrison if the Steelers really need a long snapper.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Yeah. So, yeah. And they're like, well, just imagine if you could dedicate, you know, a different position. I've seen people ask about, is it possible to find someone that both punts and kicks field goals? I'm like, well, are they going to hold the ball then? Sorry, because I know the punters normally now who's the holder. It used to be the backup all the time.
That's Tony Romo.
But where people are like, can you squeeze a roster spot there? So really, it's when you can squeeze things from other places, and that's why Jeff bringing up the returner is such a big question, because that's really going to go into, I think it's going to play the most into wide receiver and or running back, how much the Steelers are going to keep there. So I'm also going to throw something else out there. My problem is Jeff, you interview him. He does podcasts for us on Wednesdays. He'll get back to it eventually. Maybe I just am listening to Jim Wexell too much. But to me, the one that I would have loved to have been on to say this on. This should have been a topic last night, because this is where you need to pump your brakes. Where I think the Steelers fans need to pump their brakes, I think it's Hakeem Butler. So many people want to make him out to be something that's going to be great. I have zero expectation of him making the team. I have zero expectation of him being in the discussion. So if he is, that's just better for the Steelers, because then they have more options there. But like Jim Wexell says, he's a guy that says he looks like a guy that's been cut everywhere he's been. He looks like a guy that's kind of lost when he's out there. So I'm kind of pumping the brakes on someone like that. And I think the Steelers value somebody more like a Cody White, who's going to know what to do and where to be at all times.
Those are fighting words for Bryan Davis. He's going to go off. Hold on. He loves it.
I'm going to steal. I'm going to steal a catchphrase. Pump your brakes.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, no.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what. Hakeem is special. He is special. You know, these guys that go ahead and play in the XFL and get new life, play in the USFL. Look at Deion Kane. What he did in the USFL championship game, which nobody but me and Jeremy Betts watched, by the way. But Deion Kane was absolutely fabulous. And the Green Packers just signed the quarterback, Alex Magoo, from that Birmingham Stallions team. I would love to see a guy like Deion Kane get another chance somewhere. So when you get that new lease on life, a guy like Hakeem Butler, my goodness, you finally, sometimes it takes a while to come around. And we've experienced that as Pittsburgh Steelers fans when we watched Tommy Maddox do some special things in Pittsburgh after being the XFL MVP.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. All right. Does anyone have any other positions?
Sherry Richards has a lot to say about that.
Sherry.
Butler had a great year.
You disappoint
your talents.
Sherry, you're Fredo right now. You disappoint me.
I mean, no, it's great that those guys that are standing out in those leagues, they deserve a shot. You have 90 men on the roster right now. They deserve to be there and get that consideration. But they're still a long way from the 53.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone have another position that they're wanting to watch in training camp? Bryan, you good?
You know what? I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Alex Highsmith. This really isn't much of a battle, but it's going to be so fun to watch the backup outside linebacker position, just for the fact that you're in good shape with Marcus Golden. We have always talked for a long time about how if you lose TJ Watt, you're in a whole lot of trouble. You're still in a lot of trouble if you lose TJ Watt. You're in trouble if you lose Alex Highsmith too. But knowing that you have a guy that understands his role and why he's here, and another player in Nick Herbig, I had to pause before I said that, in Nick Herbig, the fourth round pick, when you have guys like that waiting in the wings, you feel a whole lot better knowing that there's something else and those guys get a chance to season. And if you have to even rotate and give TJ a breather, you have Marcus Golden and let Herbig learn on the job.
All right. Dave, any other positions for you?
I'm good.
You're good. I only had running back 3 as my other one. Like, who are they going to have? If they're going to have anyone fill that out, we shall see. So that's good stuff. Good stuff as all. Bryan, do you have trivia tonight?
Yes, I actually do. So we're getting ready for training camp and forever. And we know we can go back to 1966 for St. Vincent College. Was 1967 the first year? Dave, help me out with that.
I was thinking it was 68, but that's just, I can't say for sure. That's just a number that was in my head. It might have been 66.
All right.
Someone in the live chat, they'll correct us. They'll tell us what it is.
And I had it up, but in looking up my Fredo comment, I just to make sure I was right, I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have it here. But the question is, before, and we know that they in 20 and 21 that they were not at St. Vincent College. They were at Acrisure / Heinz Field. So that's not the question, but where was the last place other than St. Vincent College? It was actually a different state. I'm going to tell you that, where the Pittsburgh Steelers held training camp.
It was in West Virginia, wasn't it?
No, it was.
Weren't they at West Liberty?
Before. Yes, but there's one after West Liberty.
I'm trying to think. It was somewhere. I've got 2 that are sticking out my head. It was either like New York or New Hampshire. It was
New York was a while before that. That was the only other state. There's only 3 different states besides Pennsylvania, and it is not New Hampshire either.
Okay, but New York was in there at some point, right?
Yes, I believe it was called Allegheny where they played.
Gotcha.
So
I knew they went to West Liberty because I heard a story. Myron Cope talked about the players going down to Wheeling in the red light district. It was one of the funniest stories that he ever told that I heard him tell on the radio. It was hysterical. But anyways, go ahead.
But I was thinking they traveled like a good way away at some point.
1962 to 63, they played at West Liberty University. They actually played in 61 at Slippery Rock. And in 1960, they played at California University of Pennsylvania from 58 to 60. And then St. Bonaventure from 52 to 57 in Allegheny, New York. Now, the one we're looking for is, it's in the Northeast.
I was going to say it's somewhere, or maybe it was somewhere like Rhode Island that was sticking out in my mind. It's somewhere up there because I remember reading this, but not enough to actually recall. But yeah, it's somewhere in New England.
Ooh, you got it.
What
college though in Rhode Island?
Oh, really? Rhode Island was right.
Yeah.
I'll
give you the city, Kingston, Rhode Island.
Okay, that sounds familiar. I have no idea what college.
From 1964 to 1966. Jeff, I'm going to give you a shot at this. And if you just think for a second, no, Jeff, don't be stubborn, Jeff. If you just think for a second, I'm giving you Rhode Island. You could probably get it right.
I don't know any schools in Rhode Island. There are colleges in Rhode Island.
Good Lord. There's Providence, but that's not the answer. Just say University of Rhode Island.
University of Rhode Island.
Isn't that the Rams? I think it is. Or something?
Rhode Island Rams.
That was a Shepherd University mascot as well.
It was also Richland High School, where my alma mater, Richland.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go Rams.
I'm going to try to find that Myron Cope sound from him telling the story about a player that fell off he was tussling with a lady of the night in Wheeling and fell off the roof.
Tussling with a lady.
I swear it is the funniest bit you've ever heard Myron Cope say. It's like a full 2 minutes, him telling a story on, I think, WDVE, the morning show, about the players when they used to go down from West Liberty down to Wheeling in the red light district. So anyways.
Was that like Big Daddy Lipscomb or something like that?
Probably.
Yeah. Brian. Oh, Brian, I'm mad at you right now. Anyway.
Why would I do? Oh, did I steal your trip?
Well, no. Something later. So I'm talking sacks. I did an article today for SteelCurtainNetwork.com that it talked about the best players with the most sacks from last year that the Steelers are set to face this year. And they're set to set some. But I was looking at, and I was doing the cutoff at players with double-digit sacks. My question is, and you guys might know this if you could have deduced it from the article. I didn't spell it out there if you read it. How many players in the NFL had double-digit sacks last season?
How many players had double-digit sacks?
Yes, in the NFL.
Well, didn't Highsmith tie 6th with 14.5? Wasn't he tied for 6th, Dave?
He was tied for 4th.
4th.
So
my first inclination is to say 11.
I was thinking 10. That was never came to mind.
Okay. It was 19.
Ooh.
19 players. Now, that was the most since 2018 when there was 22. Okay, because like in 2020 there were only 10 players that had double-digit sacks. So we've talked about, the Steelers and the mark of a player hitting double-digit sacks. There's not a lot of them that do that. But I will tell you this. Out of those 19, they came from 13 different teams. So this is going to be a little fun exercise, but you've got to listen to the rules. I want to see how many you can get right before you get one wrong. So once you get one wrong, that's kind of the end of it. How many of the 13 can you name before you name one that wasn't there? I want teams from 2022. So go with the easiest ones first.
So not players, just teams.
Just teams. Yeah, you don't have to even name the player. A team that had someone that had double digit sacks.
Pittsburgh
last year.
Steelers.
Pittsburgh. Okay, you guys have to agree. Because if not, you're going to eliminate Pittsburgh Steelers. That's correct. They actually had 2.
All right, it's easy for me to say Cleveland Browns.
You're saying Cleveland Browns. That is correct. They had 1 in Myles Garrett.
Only 1?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know who led the league in sacks. Oh, San Francisco.
Brian, you agree? Okay, yeah. San Francisco, you're right, because Bosa led the league in sacks.
LA Chargers.
Brian, do you agree?
Yeah, I Bosa probably got it there too.
And we are done. You guys got 3.
Yes.
You only got 3 before you got 1.
This is what I was hoping for.
No Chargers. Nope.
Bosa got hurt, and I thought Khalil Mack, is he still on that team?
I'm trying to look and see who the highest was for the Chargers. It's way down. Khalil Mack had 8 sacks.
Okay, well,
so there you go.
Let Brian keep going.
Okay. How
all
far?
Right, well, I'm definitely going to go with the Patriots.
That's correct, because they had 2. One of which wasn't even a starter.
Well, I know
in Uche. Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about Uche. I know Matthew Judon.
Yep, Judon did.
So I would actually say, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Arizona, because didn't JJ have a good year?
Arizona, correct. JJ Watt.
JJ had like 12?
Something like that.
Well, definitely Max Crosby. I'm a big Max Crosby guy. I think he's fantastic. So I would say the Vegas.
That's correct. Las Vegas Raiders. You've got 6 of the 13 right now.
I know Philadelphia has Jay Vaughn. They probably have like 3.
4 players from the Eagles last year hit double-digit sacks. That's got to be a record. I can't find a way to get that for sure, but it's got to be.
Well, I know Reddick, Hargrave, and Brandon Graham, but who else?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. You keep thinking of the next one, and I'll tell you who all it was from Philadelphia. Because you're right. It was Reddick, Graham, Hargrave, and Josh Sweat.
Oh, I forgot about.
Yeah,
I don't even remember Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
The Vikings guy, Hunter.
Vikings had 2. Yep. So Vikings is correct.
Who else did they have?
Zadarius Smith.
Oh, Zadarius.
Who's not on the Vikings anymore, so that might be hard to remember.
Okay.
So
and Danielle Hunter.
Yep.
Is it Danielle or Danielle?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, if I do voice to text and I say Danielle, they spell it right.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be done? How many do I have left? The kid from the Penn State kid from the Cowboys.
Yep, Cowboys, Micah Parsons. You've got 4 left.
4 left.
Sir. Yep.
4 teams?
4 teams left. Yep.
What about that kid from the Jets? Did Williams? Quinnen
Yep.
Williams? Did he do it?
Quinnen Williams. Yep. 3 left.
Gosh, I'm out.
Come on.
Wait. Burns, Carolina.
Yep, you saw that in the live chat. Yep.
Oh,
Carolina.
I'm not looking at the live chat.
Yeah.
Actually.
But they had that there. Tyler Longhurst had that in the live chat. Yep. You got 2.
I think I'm done.
Then you got to say another team.
The Commanders.
Yep. You're correct.
What?
From the Commanders. Yep. It's where's Daron Payne.
Oh yeah.
You're down to 1 team.
Okay. I'm gonna go Cincinnati because of Hendrickson. But was he hurt?
Oh, you had it all but 1, and I'm surprised you didn't say Baltimore Ravens. That would have been wrong too. It's actually Chris Jones. Is it Chris Jones? Is that his name?
For
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Yep. Chris Jones is the other one.
I mean, yeah, he's like kind of a constant. I should have known that.
Yep. So he's just one of those. He's one of those sneaky good players that we've talked about that in the past. So, all right. And when I was going to follow up, I know we're almost out of time, but Brian will appreciate this. When I was looking at the Steelers and how many times that they've had double-digit sacks, they've actually had players in double-digit sacks. They've had two per season for the last 3 years. Last 4 years. When's the last year the Steelers didn't have a player in double-digit sacks?
Oh, wow.
2017.
They've had that. They've been in the 50s so long, and they had that sack streak. So I'm going to say something like 2013.
All right. Well, Jeff, you're really close with 217. Cam Hayward had 12 in 2017. But Brian, you weren't incorrect. It just was the most recent. The Steelers had no one with double-digit sacks from the years 2011 through 2016.
Wow.
They went 6 years without anyone having double-digit sacks. And last but not least, when TJ Watt had 22 and a half sacks in a season, he broke the single season record of James Harrison with 16. That was the official record. But sacks did not become an official statistic until 1982. There was someone else who had more sacks for the Steelers in a season unofficially, where they've gone back at Pro Football Reference and done that since 1960. Do you know who it was that he passed? That had 17 and a half sacks in one season for the Steelers.
LC Greenwood.
Come on, Brian. Darn you.
Oh gosh, Holmes? No, I know this answer.
Because you already said it. That's why I got mad when I started my trivia.
Oh, I don't even remember who I said.
Come on, Bad Daddy. Come on.
Oh, Gene Lipscomb.
Yeah,
Big Daddy Lipscomb.
Yep.
Big Daddy.
61.
May he rest.
And his next to last season. Yeah, that
was brutal. What happened to him?
Yes.
Whew.
Yep. I'm done,
All right.
Jeff.
All right, good stuff. Brian, final thoughts. Go ahead.
All right. So my final thoughts this evening is, it's when I look at this date on the calendar every year, I get all excited because this is when Steelers training camp starts. But this is extra special because this is an extra special anniversary for me this entire week, because the two most important dates here are 7/18 and 7/24 for me. And it's something that happened in 2003. And I know you've heard me talk about this before, but this is the 20th anniversary of my cancer diagnosis. And so this is something that I think about every year. Now, you get to know Bad or Bryan Anthony Davis a lot on this show. And sometimes I'm going to be very irreverent. I'm going to be talking about the Beehive, and I'm going to talk about crazy stuff because it's a part of a persona and it's a part of just having fun. But I owe my life to 2003. And it was a situation. I was going through a divorce at the time, and I was going through cancer all at the same time. And I remember at the end of the year, it was December 31st. I called my parents up to wish them a happy new year. And my mom said, "Brian, I bet you're glad this year's over. It was the worst year of your life." And I said, "No, Mom, this was actually the best year of my life because I found out a lot about myself. I found out a lot about my worth in this world. People came out of the woodwork and they didn't go away. And I got to tell you, it was the best year of my life because I was able to, I caught it so fast. It was a malignant tumor. I was still able to have children. I thought at first that was the worst time of my life, but I realized how it was just a beginning to something new. And something new is at the time, it's funny because at the time I was actually writing for a small West Virginia newspaper. I did something, I called it the Steel Deal. And it was my first ever writing. And I didn't know what that was going to turn into. I did it for fun, just to get out there. And I didn't know that my dream to be talking about the Steelers and actually being paid to watch the Steelers on Sunday would ever come true. And I ended up with a fantastic family. I ended up with fantastic friends, and 2 of them are on this screen with me tonight. And I just want to let everybody know that when you get bad news, and we've had a lot of people get that bad news and they did succumb and we lost people, and it's very sad. And you could be like me, you could be one of the lucky ones. And I am one of the lucky ones. And to be on with Jeff and Dave every single week, to see these people in the live chat every single week, to share time with guys like Kevin Smith and Tony Defio and Shannon White, and the list goes on here at Steel Curtain Network. I just love everybody I'm around. And 2020 on July 18th, 2003, excuse me, I'm getting choked up. I thought it was the end of the world, but once again, it was the beginning. And don't let anybody tell you you should give up. And to quote something I do this week every year, I go and watch Jim Valvano's ESPY speech. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. That's all I've got to say.
Very good. Bryan, Dave, anything to add to that?
Yeah, Bryan, once again, takes the serious route at the end, which is exactly what I was going to do, because I was just, kind of going with a different theme. This is a very interesting day and anniversary for my family as well, and I was just going to say, time flies. You ever think that you're in a place that, oh man, how am I ever going to get through this? How am I ever going to get to that point? Time flies, because it was exactly 10 years ago today, my 2-year-old son broke his femur in just a crazy accident here at the home. He just twisted and fell down weird because my daughter pulled a shoe off of him. And it was a big ordeal. They had to reset the bone, had to do the surgery for it. He was in a cast from his armpits to his ankles. And tonight would have been where we were waiting at the hospital. The surgery happened at like 12:30 a.m. So that still wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. And we just got thinking to ourselves, no one was like, how are we going to get through this time? How are we going to get through this time? This poor 2-year-old son just trying to get through this. And here we are 10 years later. So sometimes you hit a point in life where you're exactly what Bryan was saying. You don't know how you're ever going to get through it. And next thing you know, it's so far past. My son, the doctors can't even tell which leg was ever broken. And he doesn't even remember it right now. So it's just one of those things that sometimes don't think that something in the moment could ever be too much. Call on your friends, call on your family. And speaking of friends and family, I love this community, this live chat that's here with us tonight. And those of you that listen and chime in with us on Twitter and the website, everything, you all are our Steelers family. So just remember, sometimes you think, how am I ever going to get through it? Before you know it, it's going to be really far behind you.
Wise words from both of you. Thank you for sharing those. I just want to get Tom Muir. Yep, he gave us $2. Said one more week, boys. Can't wait. Can't wait. I hope that, not to completely change the subject here, but I hope that you all are with us and checking us out on all platforms, especially the steelcurtainnetwork.com. Had some really good returns on the first week of business. I'm excited for this venture. I'm excited for you all being on board with us. So I can't thank you all enough for being a part of this. And that was, as we always end this, Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
All right. We'll see you next week for another Steelers preview. Take it.
Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.